right! Now we're going back to the past! A newly found dinosaur seems to have had arms even smaller than the T-Rex. The Tyrannosaurus Rex has a big reputation for its puny arms, little arms, but as paleontologists dig up more of its family members, the species is grappling with some competition. In an arm wrestle with a newly found, Abelosaurid, the T-Rex could actually come out on top. Its stubby, weak upper arms look practically buff next to those of the colon ecali. Sorry, I'm sorry for slaughtering these. A carnivorous bipedal monster whose bones were recently found preserved in Patagonia. So it's an artistic illustration. Do you see those hands? See them? They're right there. In its official scientific debut, the species described as a unique abelosaurid that looks most similar to Argentina's famous Carnotaurus, or meat-eating bull, a fearsome beast with horns and a... I did not... Jurassic World. Okay, this is a different one, but I'm just curious. So it was... I don't think I saw Jurassic World. Or did I? I don't remember. But anyways, back to this. Real quick, and we'll go back to that one. The K in Lai doesn't have horns and is slightly smaller in size, but it and a Carnosaurus Sarai were found in the same rock formation. Wait. The dinosaur of the K in Inakai Lai was not found with arm bones, but based on the rest of its skeleton's proportion, it probably had similar sizes to the Carnotaurus. With immobile elbows and only rudimentary wrist joints, these unbendable appendages would have probably flopped against their girthy chests as they ran. Not even their 4 digits were capable of grasping objects. At the end of the late Cretaceous, roughly 90 to 66 million years ago, Abelosaurids were the most abundant dinosaurs on the planet. T-Rex lived in the North America and Asia, but its relatives in South America have produced the best fossil record anywhere in the world. I wonder, because there's not as many, you know, ruining of things in South America yet. Rip the rainforest. The Amazon. Paleontologists don't yet understand why Abelosaurid, like the T-Rex, evolved such useless arms for hunting, or why they are so particularly small in fossils from South America. Although some argue that the claws of the T-Rex might have been used for vicious slashing or for holding on during sex. Others experts suggest that these weak short limbs were an evolutionary leftovers from a long-gone ancestor. Yeah, except we're destroying it so much recently, the sad thing. Like, the rainforest, the Amazon's just going. Perhaps as skulls swelled in size, the Abelosaurids came to rely more on their jaws than their upper arms to grab prey. Over time, a clade of possible pack hunters might have even evolved shorter arms to avoid being bitten off in a family feeding frenzy. Well, not just Cattleland. They've been... One of the problems right now also is they've been using, the problem with the Amazons versus, say, in Costa Rica or Puerto Rico, is it doesn't have as rich volcanic soil as those places do. So it's very sandy. And so what farmers are also doing is adding tons and tons of fertilizer to it to try and work and make it into, you know, growing fields. But the problem is, of course, is fertilizer runoff, which of course causes algae blooms and stuff like that, which of course pulls oxygen from the water, which kills off fish, and it just becomes a Given a diversity, the reason why I know that about the sand versus places like Costa Rica, which are volcanic in nature. My dad did studies on that and published papers as an undergraduate on it. Found in South America had thinking arms and one of the smallest brains recorded among its family members to date. The skulls to arm trade-off hypothesis doesn't seem to apply in every case. This finding sheds light on the diversity of Abelisaurus theropods in Patagonia right before the mass extinction, says National Geographic explorer Diego Pol, who unearthed the species with an international team from Argentina, US, and China. Our study also analyzes the evolution of Abelisaurids and their relatives through time and identifies pulses of accelerated rates of skull evolution in the early Cretaceous. It expands what we know about the Abelisaurids living in this area during the Cretaceous period and shows they were more diverse than we previously understood. The same one. Nope. I'm looking for the character. Well, it says that it was found also with the Cretaceous, but it's not saying. I'm gonna link something. Same rocks. Alright. Here! This is talking about the, it is actually talking about this one, but it doesn't say anything about... This is talking about the dinosaur, mind you, but it's not talking about the same one that was found together with it. Right? No, wait, I misread it. Nope, yep, it was. Okay. This fossilized skin sample of an iconic dinosaur has revealed jaw-dropping details. The outer parts of a long-dead creatures don't easily make it into the fossil record. That's why this incredibly well-preserved skin of an iconic dinosaur is such a treat. A new analysis reveals a complex coat of scales, studs, thorns, bumps, and wrinkles. The remains of this bizarre-looking predator, known as the horned abelisaurid, or Carneus saurii, were first discovered in Patagonia in 1984. At the time, it was the first meat-eating dinosaur ever found with fossilized skin. And the exquisite impression nearly covered every part of the predator, from neck to tail. At the time, the jagged surface almost resembles Australia's thorny devil, yet the ridges on some other scales remind scientists of an elephant hide. Not anywhere is there a hint of a feather. Only the fossilized skin on the Abelisaurus's horned head was missing. Now scientists have properly analyzed and described this discovery in close detail. Unlike other brief descriptions of the skin prints, the fresh analysis has found no evidence that the dinosaur's scales were arranged in irregular rows or that they were different sizes depending on where they were found as the body, as we see on some modern lizards, for example. For instance, the scales don't get smaller as they spread further down the tail and away from the core of the dinosaur's body. Instead, the largest scales appear randomly scattered across the thorax and tail. By looking at the skin from the shoulders, belly, and tail regions, we discovered that the skin of this dinosaur was more diverse than previously thought, consisting of large and randomly distributed conal studs surrounded by a network of small, elongated, diamond-shaped or subcircular scales, describes paleontologist Christopher Hendricks from the Unidad, I'm sorry, Editorial Lilo in San Miguel de Tucumán. Despite feathered dinosaurs being more commonplace than we once assumed, not all of these prehistoric creatures evolved in with such flashy decorations. Even dinosaurs who came from the same branch as modern birds didn't necessarily possess feathers. Large terrestrial carnivores such as the T-Rex and the horned abysaurid really did seem to have scaly lizard-like skin. Both of these iconic predators belong to a branch of the hollow-boned, two-legged dinosaurs known as theropods, which modern birds later branched from. But this specimen of C. saciri has the best preserved skin of any non-avian theropod, researchers say. Altogether includes 6 fragments of of skin taken from the neck, shoulder, girdle, thorax, and tail. I guess this is showing the fragments. Okay, where they're located. Even showing pictures of them by the looks of it. The largest patch comes from the anterior part of its tail. Here the smallest scale measured is only 20 millimeters in diameter, yet sometimes those tiny flakes of skin can be found smushed between other scales twice as large. These much bigger featured scales, almost domed in appearance, akin to dome scales found on the Diplodocus, a long-necked herbivorous dinosaur. Others are shaped more like diamonds, with much longer lengths than widths. These resemble the scales seen on tyrannosaurids that also lived in the late Cretaceous period, roughly 70 million years ago. Why the horned abysaurid once possessed such a wide range of large and small scales is another mystery altogether. In 1997, scientists suggested the large conal scales found exist for some degree of protection during confrontation, but the authors of the new analysis say these scales would do little good against teeth. Alternatively, the Carnotaurus, and more broadly among dinosaurs, feature scales may simply have served a display/coloration function, they suggest. This is similar to feathers on modern birds, which can serve as mere displays or for flight. Given that feathers are thought to have evolved from scales, such similar diversity may not have coincidences. I guess this is the scales compared to other dinosaurs. A through E. Okay, A through E and the rest are from others. Yet other comparisons are hard to pin down. Some of the most intriguing scales on the horned abysaurid, for example, come from its tail, where certain flakes contain an arrangement of vertical ridges or grooves. Authors say that these parallel lines look almost like the wrinkles on an elephant skin, and given that both the theropod and the African elephant are large terrestrial animals without sweat glands, living in warmer climates, the authors suspect that these ridges may hold similar functions. African elephants have wrinkles on their skin to increase surface area and more effectively shed excess heat via evaporation. While we do not claim that the Carnotaurus and elephants necessarily thermoregulated in the same ways, i.e. using vaporative cooling, we note here that they share distinct gross morphological similarities in their integument, despite one having scales and the other one having a highly modified mammalian epidermis, the authors write. Regardless of the specifics, they maintain theropod skin is likely to have played at least some role in thermoregulation. Further studies of the scaly skin of early dinosaurs may reveal far more than simply what they look like and might also tell us how they lived. Okay. Now on to more ancient human kind of things. Archaeologists found 23,000-year-old footprints that rewrites the story of humans in America. New Mexico's ancient sands revealed the oldest known traces of early inhabitants. Okay, here's a little synopsis. Studying preserved footprints in New Mexico continues to prove insight on the first human movements in North America. A research team believes that the footprints are more than 23,000 years old, confirming an earlier study that dates the prints 10,000 years that dates the prints to 10,000 years older than previously believed. Tracking the footsteps proves a modern scientist a view onto ancient life. White Sands National Park, which is also kind of pretty if I remember. Brain injuries. I think I was 12 when we went trip. I don't remember which national parks altogether we went to. It was archaeologically rich sands in North America, and it's within its New Mexico landscape that the oldest footprints ever to be found on the continent were discovered. Recent research now dates those footprints to roughly 23,000 years old, about 10,000 years before it was previously believed humans existed in North America. The site in New Mexico has rewritten the history books as we discovered wonderful examples of human activity, the way humans interact with one another, with the landscape, and with animal life there. Sally Reynolds, principal academic at the paleoecology at Bournemouth University, said in a statement, "These footprints provide a valuable window into the lives our ancestors lived, and how much they were like us." Okay. A study in 2021, I'm not going to go over some of this that I just went over. They dated the footprints using radiocarbon dating methods. This team wanted to confirm these findings. Okay, you know, I'm just going to read it. Never mind. Previously to believe about 13,000 years old, in a study in 2021 by U.S. Geological Survey researchers, instead dated the footprints to about 23,000 years ago using radiocarbon dating method. The team wanted to confirm those findings, though, and published another study in the journal Science in late 2023 that confirmed the newly calibrated aging of the footprints with the dating of fossilized pine pollen. With the pollen and common ditchgrass seed found in both the footprints and within the same layer of hardened mud in which the footprints were found, the team was able to confirm the 23,000-year-old date, showing that humans were on the continent during the last glacial maximum. The team also used optical simulated luminescence to look at the background radiation on quartz. The more energy in the quartz, the older the find. This helped collaborate the date. Matthew Bennett, a Bournemouth University professor and co-author of the study, said in a statement that the team was pleased after the initial study was investigated further, and they're able to provide new results that underline the accuracy of our original study and provide a fascinating update to the movements and lifestyles of our ancestors. Stop. Nope. And those movements were aplenty. As chronicled in a Smithsonian article with Bennett, the footprints of the White Sands area show children playing near puddles, hunters tracking a giant sloth, a young woman carrying a child, and slipping in the mud, possibly from being chased by a predator. There were hungry predators around, including dire wolves and saber-toothed cats, Bennett said, according to the Smithsonian. We can see where she slipped in the mud at certain points. We can also see the child's footprints where she set it down, presumably because she was tired and needed rest. Some footprints can be seen without technology, while others require ground-penetrating radar to find. The footprints left to the White Sands give a picture of what was taking place. Teenagers interacting with younger children and adults, Bennett said in a statement. We can think of our ancestors as quite functional hunting and surviving, but what we see here is also activity of play and different ages coming together, a true insight of these early people. Bennett said that while the footprints found in the area do provide small glimpses of life was like back then, the team hopes to find even more footprints to tell a larger story of life in North America. The lasting legacy of White Sands is to point the way to a new archive of evidence. Last article of the night. I just found this interesting. I'm not sure how scientific it is as much history, and I found it interesting. My stream, I decided. The 8 largest cities of the medieval world. In the medieval world, life shifted as people moved to cities. Population grew, and these 8 cities became the most notable in the world. There's maps, see? The medieval period, which lasted 1,000 years between 470 CE and 14,000 to 14 one. Yay, words. Sorry. 470s CE to 1,400 to 1,450 CE was a period of cultural evolution and religious power. Thank you. Growing populations gave way to the major urban developments and became symbols of power that benefited the ruling class throughout a system of feudalism. Yeah, let's say, I don't know. Usually these don't last as long as all my other long streams, also because I'm constantly reading. And these 8 cities were not necessarily the largest in terms of land area, or even population in some cases, but they were large in their sense of importance to the medieval era. Angkor? Largest temple, medieval. Angkor was once a jewel of the Khmer Empire in present-day Cambodia. The city was massive both in land and population, and 1100 CE, it was considered the largest city in the world. The metropolis sprawled over 1,000 square kilometers, about 390 square miles, and housed about 1 million people. The only thing remaining in the Grand City today is the central temple, Angkor Wat, the capital city of the Khmer Empire, was once a modern urban center with roads as wide as airplane runways, canals, rice farms, and the world's largest hand-cut water reservoir, and an intricate system of working with the monsoon season to make its harvest bountiful. The city of Angkor was a city of god kings, all who supposedly earthly incarnation of the Hindu god Shiva. The city's population flourished with schools, public hospitals, and an intricate irrigation system that allowed rice cultivation on a massive level. The temple city, as it's called today, was abandoned in the 1400s, but today is an incredibly popular tourist site. However, several conflicts throughout the past few hundred years have made excavation and analysis of the site difficult, so archaeological work is still ongoing. Baghdad, in modern Iraq, was the capital city of the Abbasid Caliphate. Beginning in the early Middle Ages. Construction in the site began in 762 CE, and by the end of the 8th century, the city was already home to 500,000 residents. It was the political and cultural center of the Middle East during its height. Between the 1700s and 1900s, approximately 1 million people lived in Baghdad or its suburbs. You know, one of the things I remember from middle school, which is saying something, especially with my brain injury, the world history teacher pointed out that the Tigris and Euphrates rivers were probably the most important rivers, where like Mesopotamia and all this other stuff, because the convergence of those 2 rivers where some of the first cities were, because of the rich salt. It would flood, and then they'd have the sediment and stuff that came from the flooding would fertilize the area so that they could go back through and, you know, farm on there. It was just really rich. City was, because there's a whole bunch of big cities that back in before even the medieval times, like that Like Mesopotamia, I think, was the first known civilization that we've actually found that had writing, and they found it from clay tablets from merchants. Party har har. For I guess counting stuff and all other. Well, among other things. The city was built in two semicircles on either side of the Tigris River. I was about to say Tigris, because I was thinking of how we say Monster Hunter World. How you say the Tigra, Tigrex versus Tigris. I've heard it Tigris. The infrastructure of the city was modern, with aqueducts and sewage system, several public squares and gardens, and wide avenues. According to quote, an Arabic scholar who lived a few centuries after the city's heyday, the avenues of the city were built to be 40 cubits, 60 feet wide, and the city did not allow garbage or refused to collect within the walls. Yep. While Baghdad remained important throughout the Middle Ages and into modern day, the Abbasid Caliphate was not what it once was after the 10th century, and the city declined. Two major attacks during the Middle Ages, one in 1258 and 1401. Today, it's still the capital of modern Iraq and is the second largest city in the Arab world. Constantinople, which used to be called Istanbul. Why do I remember that? I don't know. They Might Be Giants had a song. Istanbul, Constantinople. I'm not gonna play that. Okay, I'm just gonna. I will not play it on here, but I'm going to link it. The funny thing is, this was done as a wake-up song at my church camp. No, it is not. But I'm going to link it on here. Not exactly in my vocal range. There we go. Constantinople served and continued to serve as a great epicenter for the Byzantine Empire. Though it was founded in 330 by the Roman Empire Constantine the Great, the city reached its zenith in the early medieval period. The fall of Western Roman Empire shifted global focus to the Eastern Roman Empire, with its emperor, Justinian, ruling from Constantinople. The city itself was a large was large throughout the transition it faced, from Rome to Byzantine to Ottoman and back again. The population at various periods of history was approximately 1 million people, and it served as a major hub for trade. Constantinople's unique position that straddled Europe and Asia poised the city to become a key player in international affairs and commerce. The Venetians, along with traders and merchants from the Middle and Far East, came to the city to do business, making its economy boom. However, Constantinople faced near constant challenges, with sieges, battles, often threatening to wipe it away. However, the city endured throughout the age of great medieval cities, becoming the capital of the Ottoman Empire in 1453. The city would remain a key player throughout the Middle Ages and into modern period. Today, Constantinople is known as Istanbul in modern-day Turkey, and is still a large city with strategic importance in the international affairs of both Europe and Asia. know. Cairo, Egypt was built in 969, ha ha ha, during the Fatimid dynasty to rival Baghdad as the largest city in the Islamic world. It was the capital of the dynasty and served as an example of the power and enlightenment of Islam during the Middle Ages. Cairo, known as the City of 1,000 Minarets, for good reason. A truly Islamic city, the number is not fabricated, and some claim there are more than 1,000 mosques throughout the city. These places of worship, however, also served as places of administration and learning in the medieval city of Cairo. The Al-Hassan Mosque, Cairo's first, was a center of education where thousands of young Egyptians and foreigners could learn, whether they were rich or poor. When the city was taken over by the Mamluk dynasty, mosques also served as hospitals and centers of communities. The rulers who had risen from slavery to power cared for the lower classes of the city and helped fortify the city as an Islamic stronghold against the Crusades. Cairo is also a key hub of commerce, as it sat at the confluence of European, African, and Asian trade. This position would make Cairo one of the world's wealthiest medieval cities. Today, Cairo is still the capital of Egypt and is the largest city in the Arab world. It is the center of Islamic power in Northern Africa, despite several modern conflicts. I'm sorry, China. I'm sorry. Hangzhou? Zhao. Nope. Zhong. Trying to say Zhongli. Joke. Hangzhou may have been one of the largest cities in the world in the 12th century. Population of at least 1 million people and its position at the end of the Grand Canal, Hangzhou thrived as the capital for several Chinese dynasties. Hangzhou's location was paramount to its prosperity, as it sat within the Silk Road trade network. It flourished as a trade city, with an archaeological evidence from products from Hangzhou being found as far away as Iran. It was the capital for both the Huiyuan Kingdom and the Southern Song Dynasty. Even when it was not serving as a capital, the strategic location of Hangzhou made it a powerful city. Although it was well known for its wealth, Hangzhou was also a great center of Chinese culture, especially when it related to early literature and Buddhism. Its cultural and economic prowess attracted travelers like Marco Polo and Ibn Battuta, who wrote of the city in grandiose terms. Marco Polo declared that it was, without a doubt, the finest, most splendid city in the world, and he marveled at the city's paved streets and numerous bridges. Polo's writings indicated the splendor of the Hangzhou in the 13th century, when it was still the largest city in the world. Hangzhou is still an important economic and cultural center today, with thriving rice and silk production. Though it is no longer a capital, it is still a metropolis, with a modern population of at least 10 million people. Oh look, Paris! Okay, there's a joke in here. Still the capital of France today, Paris came out of a relative obscurity and developed into a large cosmopolitan city we know today, beginning in the Middle Ages. In the 10th century, Paris was considered little more than a provincial city, housed a cathedral and not much else. You know, Beauty and the Beast is French. I think that's where they put it. And provincial, small provincial life. Okay, sorry. This changed, however, when the Capetian kings decided to rule France from de la Cité, not only making it the site of the royal palace, but of the new Notre Dame Cathedral, which was gorgeous, and I'm sad what happened with it. Yes, I've seen it. Under the Capetans, Paris became a city that was important on three fronts: religious, educational, and commercial. The left bank of Seine was the hub for important French monasteries, as well as several colleges, which at the time became leading educational institutes in Europe. On the right bank, ports, merchants, and markets made the city into a commercial hub. In its prosperity, combined with a focus on religion and education, led to Paris becoming an important center of illuminated manuscripts, and the first city to develop buildings in the Gothic style. Before 1328, there was no concrete number of people living in Paris. However, the census of that year counted over 61,000 households within the city, making the population estimate anywhere from 210,000 to 270,000. Though the city faced several hardships, including sieges, the bubonic plague, it recovered to become one of the most populous cities in the Western world during the Middle Ages. I'm sorry. South America. Tenochtitlan, perhaps the largest city in the pre-Columbian America. Tenochtitlan was the capital of the expanding Aztec Empire from the 14th to 15th century. It was built on an island in the middle of the Lake Texcoco, and the site of royal palaces, temples, markets, and other public buildings that served the Aztec people well and contributed to the prosperity of the empire. The Aztec Empire, had various trade networks from the Gulf of Mexico, possibly into the Inca Empire. The population was probably around 200,000 people and was split into complex social classes, the most complex in the Mesoamerican world. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in the capital, they found a thriving city that rivaled the population only by Paris or Venice in Europe. The palace was of the Emperor Moctezuma II, however, was a sprawling complex that boasted zoos, botanical gardens, and aquariums. The city, however, was conquered by the Spanish, led by Hernan Cortes, and turned into a municipality of the Viceroyalty of the New Spain. I think they said that basically held the emperor, if I remember correctly, held the emperor hostage and said that to give him all this gold, and they still killed him anyway. While the city remained under Spanish rule for 700 years, the capital of Mexico did not move and was built around the medieval capital. Tenochtitlan still sits at the historic center of modern-day Mexico City and is still one of the most populous cities in Americas, with a population of over 10 million people. Venice, considered to be the greatest maritime power of the Middle Ages and is currently sinking under the water, and I'm not joking on that. Venice began. It's been doing this for a while now, especially with the structures that are keeping it up. They're even thinking about building like a dike or something like that to keep, or some kind of thing. They're working with the Dutch about that. Venice became a safe haven for refugees fleeing from the collapse of the under the sea. Yeah, totally. The marshy lagoon would serve as an important strategic location for what would become the Republic of Venice. Yeah, the thing is, it's held up by wooden beams in some locations, and some of the foundations aren't. They've been down there for a bit. It's an important strategic location for what would become the Republic of Venice, and its access to the Mediterranean Sea allowed a trade on a wider scope than the rest of Europe. The city-state of Venice began conquering areas within the eastern Mediterranean, while it retained a high level of independence, both in religion and government, from Rome and other powers on the Italian peninsula. Venice was ruled by a doge! It says here doge! Or duke, sorry. Who served for life and was elected by the Great Council of Venice. It was built as a republic, but in practice was ruled by oligarchs of the Medici family. It was in practice ruled by oligarchs of the merchant class. The Medici family also had a lot of popes come from them. The city-state of Venice grew steadily and became a great center of art, architecture, and publishing during the Middle Ages. Its Renaissance, considered to have begun before the general Italian Renaissance, was a direct result of its economic prowess and fostering of the arts in the service to maritime republic. Lots of patrons, all this other stuff. Venice's power was relatively unchecked until trade routes into the East Indies and Americas opened in the 19th century, granting other European powers the same ability to foster effective trade as Venice. Venice was incorporated into a unified Italy in the late 19th century, and though it still is a center of culture within Italy, it is not considered the power it once was. It's also sinking. Venice was a unique and completely maritime-focused power, thanks to its canals, which now are used for the likes of tourist gondola rides and water taxis rather than fast naval feats, and it's sinking. Alright. Okay. I'm gonna, since I'm bringing it up, Venice, the city of canals, has been sinking for centuries due to a combination of natural and human-induced factors. The city's foundation is built on soft soil and mud, which is slowly compacting and settling over time. Additionally, human activities such as the construction of buildings and the extraction of groundwater has also contributed to the city's subsidence. According to recent studies, Venice is sinking at a rate of about 1 to 2 millimeters per year, which is slower than previously estimated. This means the city's average sea levels is around 32 centimeters higher than it was 1872, causing of Venice's sinking natural subsidence. The city's foundation, okay, are you at rising sea levels, and plate tectonic. Global warming is causing sea levels to rise, which is exacerbating the flooding and subsidence of Venice. Plate tectonics. The city is located on the Adriatic plate, which is slowly sinking due to plate tectonics. Efforts to save Venice. A system of mobile barriers is being built to protect Venice from the high tides and flooding. The project is expected to be completed by 2025, so next year. Floodgates. The city is also installing floodgates at its 3 inlets to prevent high tides from entering the lagoon. Elevated buildings. Some buildings in Venice are being elevated to protect them from flooding and subsidence. Conservation efforts. Efforts are being made to conserve the historic buildings and infrastructure to prevent further damage. Oh, that's nice. Let Venice sink. I'm just... Nope. We're not. Nope. Alright, y'all. That's it. That's just a blank. Nope, I probably need to create something like that. My mom's been with my dad, and she brought back some Venetian masks, and they were so pretty. Yep. Alright, y'all, this is Ishnai Laboratories. Because don't swim. It's kind of like Amsterdam, which I've been, and the canals smell really bad, and all this other stuff because the sewage goes straight into the water. It's actually quite dangerous and quite bacteria-ridden. Okay. Kitsune Rise? Am I correct? Alright, y'all. Okay. Did I do the outro? I don't remember. Alright, y'all, this is Ishnai Ciarfox. I hope you have a good day or night, whenever it is, wherever it is you currently are. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment. I need to be a good girl and go make some more thumbnails. Alright, night, y'all. Thanks for joining me on my nerdum.